good people, what is going on? What's going on? Thank you for tuning in to Obedience, Faith, and Discernments, the gospel lens, where we are seeing clearly in a clouded world. You see what the topic is. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. It's called The Lies We Tell Ourselves, and I do believe we deal with this a lot. I am one of the type of individuals who do not give into the whole masculinity thing a lot. I think the idea of masculinity, I mean, I understand why some people do it, but I've just always been the type of person to just be and to just exist, to just do, and to not hold myself to any type of title whatsoever. And another thing that I always do is I'm always evaluating myself. I'm always looking at how I can do things differently. Whenever I have any type of problem that I face, I make sure I take time to process it. I know a lot of men are not into going to see therapists or anything like that, but I completely understand I understand why men don't want to go to therapy. I understand that completely. I think it's a little wrong if you can afford it. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there are some men who do not go to therapy literally because they cannot afford it. For those who really cannot afford it, I've been trying to figure out a cheaper option on working things out, and I've noticed that processing a lot of information and arguing with myself about certain things that have happened in my past or that have happened in my present has been the best way for me to process things and to move on from things as we go through life. I will sit up and tell you all the time that we all need some type of we all need some type of ventilation system. There's not any building, there's not any there's not any mechanism, there's not any machine, that's a better term, there's not any machine that doesn't have the proper ventilation system. And what a proper ventilation system is that it's taking in, and it takes things in and it puts things out. As a matter of fact, the proper ventilation system is putting out just as much as it takes in. And as individuals, especially as men, we think we can take, and eventually we end up lashing out in ways that are really, truly not healthy for us and for our futures. Being a man of God puts it on a different spectrum because we also, well, this is if you really care. Let me sit up here and make sure I specify this. This is if you really care. Because you have some people who look at being a Christian, look at being saved, look at being churchgoers, look at being deacons and everything like that. They use it to their advantage, and they want nothing more than to be put on a pedestal because they decided to walk this path. You have some people out there who really don't care. There are sociopaths in the church too. But then you have an individual kind of like me who's more meek, more in the background, not really looking for any type of attention from serving God, just want to really truly serve God, not looking for any accolades or anything like that, just really truly want to be my best and do the best that I can for God. In that process, there are a lot of decisions that I probably should have made on my own that I did not make because I've been waiting too long on God to give me an answer, and I take full responsibility for that. But in the process of how things have been going lately, is I've noticed this growth in the pit of my spirit that's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Excuse me. And this growth in the pit of my spirit that's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It reminds me of somebody that I used to be, where people would call me a jerk, where people would call me an a-hole, where people would say I'm insensitive, they say I'm mean, they say all these types of things. And I have to admit myself that part of this piece inside of me that is growing, that I keep suppressing, makes me feel like if I ever let it unleash, I'd be a monster. I'd be a monster, yes, but I would also be unstoppable. But I keep having a battle and to fight this growth inside of me that's telling me that I'm not living up to my full potential, and that one of the ways to live up to my full potential is to let this beast inside of me that I feel, let it free and let it roam around. The fear of letting this beast out again is that I know I won't be able to come back from whatever may manifest from going down this road. And that's scary because at the point in my life when I lived this way, I really did not care. I love the fact that whatever I wanted to do got done, but I really did not care. There wasn't too much that moved me. I mean, to be honest, there's not a lot that moves me now, but there wasn't too much that moved me. People coming to me seemed more robotic for me to be telling them and giving them good advice. Relationships were completely one-sided because even with me pretending to be a nice guy, and I said that specifically, I said that for a reason. Even with me pretending to be a nice guy, I was doing it all for my own self-validation, and when I didn't get validated like I wanted, I tended to act out. I tried to hide and suppress, which I don't anymore. I do have a temper. I really, truly have a temper. It takes a lot for that temper to actually come out, but I no longer deny that I have a temper and that sometimes my temper will get the best of me. But as I'm evaluating everything else, realizing that I have this temper sitting inside of me, realizing that I feel like I'm not living up to my full potential, but the only way that makes sense for me to live up to my full potential is by letting this monster come out and just do what it's supposed to do and get us where we got to go. It makes me wonder where this feeling's coming from altogether. Am I lying to myself by believing that this monster should come out? Or am I lying to myself by thinking that I should keep doing everything I can to not let this monster free? I can give you plenty of examples of things that I've done in my past when I wasn't really focused and I didn't really care. I was just driven off of straight ambition and energy to where it was good and bad. There's good and bad in everything you do. There's not going to be one decision that you make in your life that doesn't have some type of benefits or consequences with it. If you believe there are decisions that you make in your life that will come without benefits, both benefits and consequences, then I really pray that you take time to seek out God's knowledge, insight, and discernment on that. But when I was just driven off of straight energy and ambition, there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that got done, and I did like that part of myself. But I understood the bad that came with it. Now, I know that if I ever lock into something, as I'm really trying to get my mind straight to lock into the things that God has told me to do, I know there's not anything on the face of this earth worth locking into other than my purpose, other than my mission, other than the reason why I'm still alive. But it does scare me a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. It scares me a little bit because I'm pretty sure that getting back to that place means I will never come back. And me, just like a lot of other people, anybody listening to this, if you feel me, I hope you understand. If you don't, then I hope it's something that you may be able to learn from this, or there may be somebody else that you know who can learn from it. One thing that we don't want to wake up 10 years down the road and not like who we are. I've mentioned before that we will get saved and get soft. We'll get saved and we'll get too dependent. We'll get saved and we won't get still. We'll just stop. It's a difference between being still and just completely stop. And we'll completely stop in our tracks and call that being still. We will sit around and not do anything to the fullest of our ambition, to the fullest of our power, and call it waiting on God. When most of the things that we're waiting on God for, God has already given us the authority for it. So what are we really waiting for now? Are we waiting for God to tell us how to do it step by step? The beautiful thing about free will, even though, like I said, if you have listened to this podcast quite a bit, you know I'm on the fence about free will. I'm on the fence about free choice. I'm somewhere between free will and free choice. But let me say this. I do believe this. Well, let me sit up here and say this. I do truly believe that truth that fully submitting yourself to God means giving up your will. So then you don't necessarily have free will. But in this context, while it may sound contradictory, I'm going to say it anyway. We have the ability to make things happen however we want to make happen. And the beautiful thing about that is that once we get off of our lazy butts, once we quit feeling so sorry for ourselves, once we quit waiting on God to hold our hands through the whole entire process, the steps that we make, we'll end up realizing that those are the steps that God wanted us to take the whole entire time. It doesn't matter how we look at things. It doesn't matter how we see things. It doesn't matter how we view things. But if we're not acting upon the things that God has already given us the authority over, given us dominion over, given us the blessing for, given us the mindset for, if we're not acting upon these things, then, like I said last week, we are being disobedient to the will and the word of God. But let me stop because I'm getting on track. Point being is that I know that getting lost is to the point to where I don't want to wake up 10 years from now and not know who I am. Worse about not knowing who I am is not liking who I am. But I'm asking myself this question, and I want you to ask yourself this question as well. What if that part of you that you do not want to let out again is exactly the reason why you are not where you feel like you should be in life? Everything happens in God's timing. That's absolutely true. But what if in this specific moment, when you're listening to this podcast or when you're looking at this podcast, what if in this specific moment, you've been dealing with the exact same question on who you need to be moving forward? You've actually been in a position to where you know you need to make some adjustments to who you are. You've faced situations that you know the old you will no longer be able to pull you out of. And there's a part of you that absolutely knows that you have to move forward, being a little more aggressive, being a little bit more standoffish. That's a wrong choice of words, but I hope you understand what I mean. But you have to move forward, being a different part of you. You know, you gotta let the old part of you go because who you used to be isn't working anymore. I know you're feeling this side of me. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be listening to me. But I want you to really think about this, and I want you to really consider this. We fear stepping into this realm because we will one day step out of God's grace. And I'm going to say something that's going to be I'm going to say something that I really believe will not go over easy with a lot of people. So what? Who cares? You know, we love saying that the enemy is the author of fear and things like that, and don't even consider the fact that it could be fear that's stopping us from really stepping into who we really should be because we're scared that we will not like who we are in the future. We're scared that we're going to change too much. You are going to change. You may not recognize yourself. But as I mentioned earlier, there's a good side and a bad side to everything. So why are we only focused on the bad side? Why is it that the only thing we pay attention to, or the only thing that we really think about that stops us from becoming the more aggressive, assertive type, becoming the old us? Okay, because let's be honest. Let's be honest about one thing. Before I dedicated my life to God, when I told you I was more aggressive and I had this little monster that just roamed around, there was no excuses for anything that needed to get done. Like I said, if I wanted to do it, it got done. There were no excuses for anything. I didn't make excuses. I went out there and did what I had to do. I got it. I grinded. I hustled. I'm 320 now. When I tell you I was in the best shape of my life because I was just going after it no matter what, and I was not gonna let anything get in my way. Why? I could be just speaking to myself. If I'm just speaking to myself, fine. But after I got saved, like I mentioned before in a couple other podcasts, I did slowly start dying down. And I've always asked myself this question: why? Why is it that as soon as I gave my life to God, I changed? God does not change you. He evolves what's already there. I think we have it mistaken to where God wants to where we believe that giving ourselves over to God means becoming a different person altogether. To be honest, you may not even like where this is going to go. I hope you do, but I have to really truly let you know, just to say this because for the most part, this whole entire podcast feels like I'm just trying to tell another lie. Um, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I believe I'm a pretty decent human being, but I do not like being considered a nice, kind person. I do not like trying to walk into always being nice and always being kind because it is extremely, extremely exhausting. I could care less about masculine and feminine energy because it's all just another way to keep us divided, and it's extremely, extremely annoying to constantly have these conversations, and especially to see that these conversations have affected ministries, plural ministries. All the praise and all the accolades and all the titles and everything really mean absolutely nothing to me. They never have. I could care less if you have 1 million people going to your church, if you had 2 people going to your church. We have this naive understanding that the fruits that that one person may bear means how many. But you can bear a lot of rotten fruit too. Rotten fruit can bear a lot of rotten fruit. As a matter of fact, fruit rots faster when you leave a rotten piece of fruit in the basket or barrel or whatever it's in with it than anything else. It spreads like a fungus, like a disease, like an illness, like a sickness. It spreads like like COVID did, faster than COVID did, almost immediately. There's so much on the face of this earth that I do not care about. And I'm so sick and tired of feeling like I do. I'm sick and tired of pretending that I do. I love God. I love my walk with God. I love my kids. Yes, I love the mother of my kids, even though we are not together, because she's been a great mother to my kids. I love the people that I have around me, which are very, very, very few and far in between. But there's so much about society, there's so much about life, and so much about everything else that people want you to care about that I just don't care about. I love reading my Bible. I love it when I have these intimate moments with God. But I do not like constantly feeling like I'm holding myself back. And I'm saying this to ask if it's possible that there's anyone else out there that feels the same way. Like, you feel like you're lying to yourself now. And that this pit, this ball inside of you that just is continuously growing needs to come out. And the only reason why you haven't let that beast out is because you let a lot of other people, you let the people in your inner circle tell you not to. They point out the dangerous things that can happen if you were to let this beast roam. They put limitations on you, and I'm not even saying they do it consciously, but they put limitations on you, and worse, they put limitations on how great God is. You know just as well as I do that the only thing worth letting the beast out for on the face of this earth in this day and time is for you to do your job for the kingdom. Nothing else matters to you but that. but you specifically doing your job for the kingdom, you know as well as I do that that's the only way you would let this beast out. You know just as well as I do that you walk in a unique type of faith to where when you let this beast out, you have enough faith to know that God is going to carry you all the way. And that if you ever do step out of line before it gets too bad, God will bring you right back in. God has already been checking you your whole entire life. God is not going to stop now. Take the chance, take the risk. And I'm saying this to myself too. Take that spiritual leap of faith. Become who you really are. And stop lying to yourself. Because you feel like the way you see yourself now is the main way that you would get recognized. Has it really worked so far? Are you really happy where you are? Or are you just content, pretending to be who you are? If you're really happy where you are and who you are, then forgive me, I'm not trying to say you're lying to yourself or anything, but like I told you, I can only say and talk about what has benefited me and hope it helps other people. I really truly feel like I've been lying to myself, and how can I expect God to really show me what I really need to see out of life if I'm not even living the life, living and being who I really truly am? If I'm denying parts of myself because I feel like the people around me won't truly accept it, or I'm too concerned about other people's feelings. And I tell you this is what I'm going to do, and I pray that you do the same thing. If this has benefited you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I really want to start getting to the point where I can get people on here, whether it be digital or actually face-to-face. And have some real conversations that we need to have, especially for the gospel lens, because we're going to talk about how to navigate at work. We're going to talk about how to navigate some of the things that go through our minds. We're going to talk about how to navigate our emotions, especially as men. But here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Remember earlier I mentioned that I hash things out a lot with myself. I'll argue with myself, and sometimes even argue with God, just to make sure I get an understanding on everything so I can move on. It's a ventilation system in me. I pray that you do the exact same thing. I pray that you really sit up here and have a debate with yourself. If you don't want to say argue, that's all fine and cool. But I pray that you really sit and take some time and ask yourself this question if this is relevant to you. If it's not, it's not. But if this is relevant to you, even in the slightest little bit, I pray that you sit with yourself and that you actually take some time and ask, are you really truly being who you are? And I want you to dig and dig and dig. I want you to grab at that root and keep pulling and pulling and pulling at that root until you snatch it out completely. And then I want you to take back, look at the root, and see how much of everything that you are, everything that you do is rooted to your faith about yourself. So what you truly believe about yourself, or how much of it is actually rooted to who everybody else told you you should be, how everybody else told you you should act. It's time for you to really put faith in yourself instead of other people. It's time to trust your own instincts instead of always leaning on what somebody else has to say. You need to stop running from who you are. Plain and simple. And I've gone off a little bit, please forgive me. And also get used to it. I have nothing else to say. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you didn't, I completely understand. Remember my 5 favorite things. Stay focused, stay faithful, stay true to yourself. Treat other people how you want to be treated, and give God all the respect and glory that you can, because God is doing a lot more in your life than you could ever imagine. I love you, and I know that Jesus does too. I'll see you Sunday when we go over the third commandment.